Happy Monday, folks. Given a few minutes before we get started for folks to join in. Actually sitting outside on my little patio. I didn't realize how nice it was. I was inside for most of the day, and it's pretty beautiful here. So I decided to take it outside. Hey, Danny. How's your Monday going? Does anyone use speak to text or Siri? I use it so often because I'm like kind of lazy with texting, and half the time when I talk I want to pronounce exclamation points, you know. So I'm like, how are you doing today? Question mark. Has anyone ever done that in a voicemail when they leave a voicemail for someone? Because I definitely have and been slightly embarrassed. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Nikki. How's your Monday going? I actually thought this was going to be like a rainy, dreary day, kind of like yesterday, but I didn't realize it turned out to be a pretty nice one. Ah, Lilo. Susie's dog is Lilu. Good to see you, Adam. It's a great day to be walking the dogs. I locked mine in the house so they don't bark and jump and go crazy. I'm just hanging on my little porch. I use talk to text, but I don't do that. It's okay. Something for everyone. Yeah, today, I don't know, I'd say wasn't an awesome day. Nothing in particular, I guess. Maybe a couple of things, a couple of frustrations with work. Nikki knows this, my pet mouse from yesterday that I talked to you guys about passed away. I wasn't able to bottle feed it to health, but you know, that's okay. I let it go into the garbage. Oof. Yeah, it's beautiful outside, Nikki. I didn't even realize the sun was out. I was on my computer most of the day. Hey, Paul. Hey, Chris. Hey, guys. Thanks for joining. I actually so I wanted to share with you guys today this reading. I have different books. As you know, I talk about all random books. But this one is, it's 12-step related, or it's called Beyond Belief, Agnostic Musing for a 12-Step Life. But this doesn't really mention anything about the steps in this particular reading anyway. So I wanted to share it with you because it was really, really interesting. Hi, Kate. Danny, you saved a baby squirrel. I think we attempted that actually. Sean tried to save one at Recovery, and he put it in a box, and he was, I think, bottle feeding it. He went out and got like Pedialyte and all sorts of stuff, and then we had these donors or people from a foundation come by, I can't remember, and he was so excited to show them, but when he brought the box back and opened it up, the guy had passed, so it was a super awkward moment. We were like harboring dead squirrels, I don't know. So anyway, I'm going to read a little bit from this, from today's reading to you. So this was really interesting. It starts with a quote from Martin Luther King. Everything that Hitler did was quote-unquote legal. It was quote-unquote illegal to aid and comfort a Jew in Hitler's Germany. But I am sure that if I had lived in Germany during that time, I would have aided and comforted my Jewish brothers, even though it was illegal. Pretty interesting how he put it. Not like in the reflection in this feed. Hi, Jack. I feel like it makes me look super old. All right. One day, doing the right thing will make us unpopular and put us at risk of being judged or persecuted. I really like that because for so long I was afraid of not being liked for my thoughts or my beliefs, especially in the beginning of recovery or even before that. When I started to kind of publicly talk about recovery and my recovery, I was so afraid of being judged. And I was also really afraid of having this sort of unpopular opinion. I know, because it was what seemed like the first time that the recovery community had an opinion or a voice. in our treatment, in our recovery, and that wasn't always met with kind of open arms, right? So much of our new lives involves getting along, going with the flow, improving ourselves, focusing on what's wrong on our side of the street, and accepting the rest. Is there ever a time to be the vigilante or defy an unjust law or speak out about harassment or discrimination? Absolutely. What's the point of finding our values if we aren't willing to put them on the line, right? I talk a lot about letting the universe kind of guide us, and it's something I strongly believe in. But at the same time, I found my purpose and meaning and certain principles that I want to live by. And sometimes that includes having the unpopular opinion. A lot of times I say we need to take responsibility as a whole, right, as a community, for our most vulnerable, for the people with substance use disorder that may not be able to speak for themselves. So it's not about just laying down and accepting things exactly as they are. Part of it is, right? But it's also about using our voice. It's about standing in our truth. So that said, those of us who have been around a few 24 hours have been on at least one crusade of self-will that we had mistaken for a mission from God. When we look back on it, we find it laughable that we thought we found the universe no longer unfolding as it should, and ourselves being charged with righting this wrong. I have done this many, many times. I mentioned before, too, this idea of fighting. Fighting against something or fighting for something to happen. And there's a difference between living for and fighting against, right? So when I find myself that I'm like fighting and trying to get something to happen and really like pushing my agenda, it's really hard. And not just hard in like, groundbreaking or trailblazing, not like that. Hard in the sense of I'm emotionally, mentally, physically exhausted. And I feel like it's me against the world, and that's what it's talking about. The universe unfolds, but sometimes when we fight, we have to look at kind of what's underneath that in many ways. And hey, Kathy and Karen, Emily, what up, girl? And Sue, Meredith, hi, ladies. So the think test looks at 5 caveats. Is it true, and am I being honest? Is it important, necessary, and kind? Sometimes we hear something we are predisposed to believe. Let's do our research and be sure what we put our necks out for is true. Rigorous honesty demands the question, is my ego pride on the line? I really like that because a lot of times I have beliefs, but they're not always based in facts, right? Opinions sometimes that aren't always, there's not like truth behind it, it's just my hypothesis about a situation. But if I don't do the research, if I don't put in the work to make sure that I can speak on a subject in an educated and a kind of informed way, it's important to look at that. And this idea of being important, is it important, necessary, and kind? I've also heard something mentioned that if, compassion without honesty is brutality, right? So we can be honest and open, but we have to look at whether or not it's kind. Is it contributing to positive in the world, or is it bringing negativity? Narcissism can be lurking behind feigned altruism. How important is this? If this is a turning point in history, how will our children and grandchildren view our involvement in this cause? A good night's sleep can help evaluate each situation's relevance. Is it necessary? And I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times when I get a thought in my mind, I am ready to react. I want what I want, right? I want it to happen now. But this is saying, like, take a pause, take a step back, sleep on it, right? One day is not going to completely change and alter history. Sorry, my hair is getting in my way. And is it necessary? Is it necessary to speak right at this very minute, react, make change at this very minute? Or is it more important to sit back and really be thoughtful in our approach? even when we are right about something, do we have to be publicly vindicated? A bad loser is one thing, but a self-righteous winner is hard to take. I really like that. A pause for thought can stop us from gloating. Fantasies of vindication have to be curbed before we pull the trigger on inflicting justice. Is it kind? Reminds us that when it comes to the truth, few things are black and white. More important than being right is doing the right thing. And I talk a lot about right living and right purpose, and it's sort of like more Buddhist aligned, you know. But this idea of like living up to your principles, this idea of like public vindication, you know, do I have to be right? Do I always have to be in control? And what does that really mean? What is the purpose? What is the value that it brings into the world around me? This reading kind of sets my ego in check. I've been working on or fighting against on this project that I came up with, and it's based, you know, it's based in facts and research, but it's not being welcomed as much, I would say, but it's not so black and white. It's not that I'm right and they're wrong, right, or vice versa. It's about working together and collaborating, and maybe the time is not now. You know, maybe it needs to be a little different. In this vindication piece, you know, like, is it really that important to be right? Can we let things go just for the simple fact of we don't want that kind of negative energy in our lives, you know? And ends with, if I stand to be counted, am I doing it with humility and compassion? I think that's, you know, I talk about kindness, this really simple concept that is probably at the core of humanity. Are we being compassionate? Are we being kind? Because if we're not, what is the purpose? You know, why? Is it aligned with our why? You know, yeah, this reading really spoke to me. It's more of like, I don't know, educational versus an existential kind of daily reflection. And like the 5 caveats. Is it true? And am I being honest? Is it important, necessary, and kind? Right? I like being right. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not always excited to be wrong, right? But this is life. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. And I just try to walk each day with a sense of dignity and grace, right? And that's more important than being right, is being able to lay my head down at night and feel comfortable with my decision or my actions, or the way I carried myself that day, right? I don't know if you guys have had experiences you'd like to share around that, or anything else that may have come up for you through the reading. Carrie joined us. Lindsay, hey Lindsay. Hi Tony. And Jake, hello. Hey guys. Yeah, this idea, a friend actually reached out to me earlier today about, I don't know, thoughts he's having about a certain person and experiences, and kind of wanting to, I don't know, prove a point, prove him right. And I just thought about, you know, is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? And who knows? You know, I'm not the judge of anyone. Sometimes I think I am, right? But I'm really not. Another person recently approached me about kind of feedback on a personal relationship they were in, and really my response is like, I'm not the judge of that, you know? I'm not the one to say what's right or wrong, and I'm not the one to, you know, accept or not accept. I'm just here to be a support, right? To help someone walk this road, you know, alongside them. Nikki wrote, this reading is great. I learned the hard way many times to use the 24-hour rule before making any sudden changes, because, oh boy, does that want for instant gratification can consume me. Giving myself 24 hours gives me time to really process decisions. Yeah, we talked about intuition. I don't know if it was last night or 2 nights ago. Really listening to that voice, right? And a lot of times, like pulling the trigger, everything in my body is telling me, like, pause, hold off, think about it, don't do it. But my like need in that moment to be right, to prove a point, to have the final say or the final word, right? To assert my dominance or whatever you want to call it. Definitely something that has gotten me in sticky situations. So giving it some time to just pause and reflect on the situation, maybe run it by some people. You know, I'm not the end all and be all. I don't know what's best for everyone. Barely know what's best for myself. I had like a pet mouse for a day, guys. You know, you can't really trust my judgment. Hey, Joe. Trooper Joe joined us. Hi, Tim. Good to see you guys. Yeah, so I've been spending some time in reflection today. I got super frustrated with something that was work-related, and I just had to walk away. I had to walk away from my phone. I had to walk away from my computer because I was not happy, and I wanted to show them who's boss, right? Or like prove a point, and I had to pause because nothing useful comes out of that. Nothing productive comes out of that. Right? Just like resentments, negative energy, tensions, even worse is it's work related. So I have to like work with people, right? I have to maintain healthy boundaries and relationships. So it really wouldn't have been productive. Meredith wrote, I have to pause a lot. Doesn't always work, but I always try. Quick reactions and such have often gone quite poorly and have and been regretted almost immediately. Like Yana talked about last night, I think once it's out, you can't take it back, no matter how much you want to. On the whole, I'm able to improve this as time goes by, but it does still happen to me from time to time, and you know, we're just human. We do our best. We try our best. Kathy said, pausing has usually worked well for me. At least it does not make things worse. Right. Right? Sometimes not taking action is an action in and of itself. Not making a decision is a decision in and of itself. You know, if we're not sure, sometimes pause is the best thing we can do, right? To evaluate the situation. I'm really grateful that I'm not run. Most days I don't run on like self-will and ego and all those things I could admit when I'm wrong. Which wasn't always the case, right? Definitely could not admit I'm wrong in active addiction. And at times in my recovery, you know, when I'm not feeling connected or I'm getting into like a dark place, then I struggle with that too. I mean, again, I just try to do the best that I can. There was something yesterday that came up, and like, I'm only human, you know. I know I'm Yana from recovery, but I'm really just like anyone else. Like every one of you, I'm only human. You know, I make mistakes just like everyone else does, and I just try to do my best to right my wrongs as they come up. So, on that note, keep my pet dead mouse in your thoughts. I have a bigger problem, but that's a separate issue. Just try to do the best you can. If you're faced with a decision and you're not sure what to do, and if you're able to, just take some time. You know, don't make the decision. Sleep on it. I have something I call an oh shit box, or a God box, depends on the day. And it's just this box, and I write little notes of things I want to let go, you know, or things that, I don't know, things that are on my mind that are bothering me, or things I don't know which way to go. And I just write these notes and put them in this box and like, hey, let me be guided, you know, let me be shown. And essentially, it's a great kind of practice. It's something like I could actually do. Sometimes just thinking about a situation, I like to put it down on paper or kind of physically put it in a box so that I can walk away and maybe not think about it, right? Hey, John. Hey, Deb. Good to see you guys. So, yeah, take a minute, walk away from the things that stress you out, walk away from the things that are bothering you, walk away from ego and pride, and do a little reflection. Put some stuff in a box, whether you burn it later or not, whether you go back and read it and think about how silly it might have been at the moment. But again, it all goes back to self-care. This all goes back to self-care. Being kind and gentle and setting healthy boundaries too. You know, it doesn't mean we have to put up with people's negativity. It doesn't mean we have to put up with judgment. You know, there's no place for judgment here. There's no room for judgment in recovery of people, of situations. You know, I'm the expert on my own life, and that's where it ends. So with that, I'd love to close. I hope you guys had a great Monday. Sit outside if you can. Get outside, but if you can't, just sit and listen to the birds. I don't know if you could hear the birds singing, but there they go. It's a beautiful thing. And if you see cardinals, lately cardinals have been popping up a lot. Actually, in my backyard. You don't see one now, but it's usually someone that's passed, and to me it's very special because that's how a dear friend of mine comes to me. It helps me get through challenging times. So there's that, and I hope you guys have a great night. Be kind, be loving. We're all human. We're in this together. It's gonna be all right, and have a great rest of your day. Bye guys, see you tomorrow.